Hello and welcome to our first episode of Season 7 of Women's World. I am Miriam Rakane. I would like to wish you all, our women and girls out there, a happy International Women's Day, a day which falls this coming Sunday, a day which is recognized all over the world, including Papua New Guinea. This episode this evening will be based on the prevalent cancers that are affecting our women here within the country. Is enough being done to address this issue? Is enough being done by our government to provide medical services to our women in regards to pap smear tests, and also in regards to educating our women and girls in regards to the importance of living healthy lifestyles? But before you know the importance of these regular checkups, first of all, you need to understand simply what cancer is.
Cancer refers to a group of diseases caused by the abnormal growth of cells in the body. Old cells that fail to die but instead grow out of control, forming new abnormal cells. Our bodies are made up of different cells, so the abnormal growth of cells in various parts of the body therefore lead to the cancers we know of, such as breast, cervical, ovarian, mouth and lung cancers, to name a few. Awareness groups around the country do their very best to encourage the work against cancer in hope that through awareness, cancer will become an issue of the past.
One of something millennium long this session awareness block cancer millennium plant is something nupla lo min interesting lo me too long work lo me giving me challenges to lo work lo me too time me attending this awareness me look at myself this awareness must go out na reach him all get the mama inside lo mind impacted villages lo optedi why me talk also because lifestyle na passion lo mine villages lo here and me different lo lifestyle lo narpa provinces where all man marry all come lo narpa place come lo here all come lo work all come on the influence lo na plan the influence lo and me affect him house line na community inside lo mine villages. Okay, lo this la me like talk this la program me like me must go out because all mama all stop outside lo all house line or need lo sabe lo this la importantly lo how lo look at them health lo cancer and me want people sick come inside lo this la place now which stop height where planting mama only no sabe why na how lo look at them all lo thymolytic symptoms la sick or way lo prevent him thymolytic symptoms la sick. So this la awareness must go all get lo house line na all mama na all man na all young man married too all must have lo this plus school cancer.
Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Yvonne Sapuri. I work at the West New Britain Provincial Health Authority. We just had a wonderful session with PNG Cancer Foundation, talking to the children here at Kimber Secondary, and it's a wonderful program in Papua New Guinea to have our kids be educated and empowered to create this knowledge and understand cancer awareness and understand the from pathology of cancer to treatment and the limitations we have in Papua New Guinea. So it's a wonderful program, and I thank the PNG Cancer Foundation for coming here today and teaching our children. I hope this continues.
Dr. Matthias Superi is one of the leading gynecologists here within the country. Here he is sharing with us the prevalent types of cancers among our women here within the country, together with its causes.
Women in PNG have an increasing risk of cancers now in our country. The common one is cervical cancer, followed by breast cancer, ovarian cancer, and endometrial cancer, and also the minor different types of genital tract cancers. So it's becoming a big issue for us in Papua New Guinea, and as you know, with all the different types of cancers that women suffer from, in total altogether of all these cancers put together, something like 20,000 women are suffering from cancers every year, with new cases picked up every year. This is putting breast, cervical, ovarian, endometrial, and all the female gynecological cancers together. So it's quite a big number. But if you split them down into different groups, so cervical cancer now is leading the list at about 4,000 every year, followed by breast cancer at 3,500 every year, then followed by ovarian cancer at about 3,000 every year, And then you have the endometrial cancer sitting at about 2,500 every year. And then all the other different gynecological cancer that occurs in women. So in total, we're seeing more and more women in this country suffering from what we call gynecological cancers. So it's a huge problem for us. Now, by far the biggest one, which is cervical cancer, and cervical cancer is a huge problem in PNG because main reason is that the incidence of cervical cancer is increasing because of increasing risk of and transmission of human papillomavirus. Human papillomavirus is the virus that causes cervical cancer, and this virus is sexually transmitted, and quite often is usually transmitted from boy to girl or from the girl to the boys. And this virus, when it infects young girls at a much younger rates, then the early infection in the cervix will, over time, a period of about 10 to 15 years, will eventually change the cells of the cervix and make it become cancerous.
Among the different types of cancers affecting our women here within the country, PNG has the highest rate of cervical cancer-related deaths in the world. According to a statement by Dr. Mary Bagita, about 1,500 deaths every year by women here within the country are caused by cervical cancer. That's equivalent to 4 deaths per day.
What exactly are the types of challenges faced in regards to the high number of cervical cancer cases in PNG? Non-availability of radiotherapy at key hospitals around the country, no radiotherapy services, no radio oncologist, shortfall of staff, lack of availability of pap smear testing around the country, shortage of nurses, and the frequent shortage of drugs and supplies. Cancers are known to occur in various parts of the body, therefore resulting in the name derivations such as cancer of the breast, mouth, colon, prostate, and cervical, to name a few. Various are the causes of these cancers. However, what needs to be of grave importance is the need for awareness to our women and girls of the dangers of these cancers and how they may be able to seek medical help they need when needed, as prevention is better than cure. Priscilla Napoleon, the executive manager of the PNG Cancer Foundation, greatly emphasizes in this importance of educating our women and girls on the need of awareness in the country. We speak to her next here on Women's World.
If you're not breastfeeding, don't expect it to come. Okay, so we're going to do those. These are what we need to check for. The first one.
Papua New Guinea Cancer Foundation is an NGO, a non-for-profit organization, and it was formed for the purpose of reducing the threat and impact of cancer in Papua New Guinea, and we do this through various outreach and education programs that we conduct in different locations in Papua New Guinea. Just last week, on the 4th of February, on World Cancer Day, we launched the Triplaman Education and Outreach Program with Dr. Sapuri. So that's a program that focuses particularly on men's health and just starting the conversation about men's health. So that's really what the program is about. So I'll probably talk about some of the findings that we had at our program so that can put everything into perspective. So we have been to provinces like Milne Bay, had programs in Port Moresby, Central, Morobe, New Island Province, West New Britain, and even in Madang. And we found some very interesting feedback when we ran our baseline surveys at these provincial programs. And if I could just read a few statistics, on average from between 2015, 2016, 2017, even in 2018, on average, more than 60% of our participants did not know about cervical cancer and breast cancer before attending these workshops, and 60% is just well over 50. So that's a really big percentage. And 41% of all the 39 surveyed people over there have absolutely never heard of cancer in those areas that I just mentioned previously. And then in our school programs, in 2016, over 75% of students at our school programs had very little knowledge of cancer. So those are very high percentages, just above the half percentage. That's 75% in school. And that's really not a good sign, being that kids in the rural areas are still not aware about, cancer itself as a non-communicable disease. And then that gives you an indication of really what services are provided or what service is available in that rural setting. For all I know, just last year in Medang, when we visited Medang for our cervical cancer education program, they had just put in together their screening the screening program. So it is readily available in some areas, in some provinces. Sadly, not the case in many of the districts. That is the reason why a lot of people that we survey during our education and awareness sessions are not entirely aware about what cancer is, because the services are not made available. So that's very clearly that it's not there. So that's the reason why people don't know much about the screening services, particularly for women's cervical cancer. Services are really not readily available in many districts and rural settings. Yeah. Our branding message might sound cliche, but that is really what we like to advocate about. It's don't chew, don't smoke, reduce your alcohol consumption, and maintaining a healthy diet and exercising regularly. As being obese is one of a risk factor for many NCDs, such as cancer and heart attacks. So that is our branding message that we bring about. And the other thing that we like to bring about also is the importance of screening and early detection, because this brings about, this can save your life, that important thing. Just knowing your status can actually save your life. And also breaking the stigma and openly starting the conversation about cancer. It's such a stigma that's around this, and many women are dying, and we're continuing to make space and just happily accept this stigma, which should not be the case. I believe we should start openly talking about this and having that conversation, so it can be a normal conversation in the society among the women folk as well. We're able to talk about it openly and just go about and do early detection and screening as well. I like to go by the foundation believes in the message of hope. So we have a daffodil campaign, a campaign called the Daffodil, and that's the message of hope. I understand it's such a hard journey for many cancer patients or people living with cancer or people who have survived the disease. So everyone have their own stories. Everyone's been affected by it one way or the other, but we always go by the message of hope. So my encouragement to women nowadays, because that's our target audience, the well women, you have to get screened. The medical people tell us clearly between what ages and what ages need to go in for screening, and just know your status. I think doing that, I believe doing that can actually save your life. So that's really one of the main messages. Or if you take away everything that I just said in this whole interview, I guess just go and get screened and know your status. That can save your life.
Yeah, the symptoms in women with cervical cancer are usually unusual bleeding. So if you're bleeding between your period cycles, or if you have heavy bleeding during normal cycles, or if you have unusual discharges that's a little bit smelly, or if you have bleeding after sexual intercourse, or pain in your tummy, or unusually regular bleeding during your cycles, usually the common symptom that is associated with cervical cancer. Unfortunately, in PNG, many of our cervical cancers present very late stage 3, stage 4. You know, the cancer is staged into stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4. If you come into stage 1, stage 2, you can be able to have surgery, and I do a lot of that surgery in our women in Papua New Guinea, plus all our colleagues who are doing cervical cancer surgery. But if you come in stage 3, stage 4, it's usually a bit too late for surgery. And those are the ones that can benefit from radiotherapy and chemotherapy. So in PNG, the story is poor in the sense that many of our women come very late. So as a result of that, we encourage women to routinely have a pap smear. Go see a doctor, see a health worker, get a pap smear done every 2 years. If you have a pap smear done every 2 years, then you are more likely to have early detection of the early formation of cancer. And if you're picked up in a very early stage, usually like in this early stage of stage 1A, stage 1A2, then surgery is the best way to go and you live a normal, healthy life. So we encourage all women in PNG to do pap smear. Unfortunately, those who live in towns and cities have access to pap smear services in the country, whether in public or in private, they do. But the unfortunate thing about rural women is that a lot of them do not have any access at all to pap smear program, screening program in PNG, and it needs to be, we need to roll it out as a big issue for us in Papua New Guinea, that at least if we can get every woman in this country to have a pap smear, then we'll be able to reduce the risk of, reduce the incidence of cervical cancer in Papua New Guinea. Quite often in PNG, women folks usually don't seek health care at all until they get sick. And that's a huge challenge for us in PNG, that we need to continue to educate our people and say to them, look, don't wait until you get sick and you go and see a doctor or a health worker. At least every year or every 2 years, just go and see a doctor or a nurse or a health worker and say, I'm just here to do a routine check to make sure I'm okay. We need to change that mentality in Papua New Guinea. That's my key message. We need to change the mentality in PNG. Don't wait until you get sick. Not only for women, but for men too as well. Just have a routine check. Go see your doctor, run the blood test, do your routine ultrasound, do all the routine things, blood screen that you need to do, just to make sure you're okay. Similarly for children, it's just as important as routinely doing vaccinations. So make sure all the kids have their vaccinations until they're completed. Very important messages. Thank you.
Coming up next, we share the verbal testimony of a cancer survivor and her heartwarming story. Many women have their own stories to share, stories of struggle and of the will to survive and live. Many choose to remain anonymous for various reasons due to the traumatic experience with the disease.
I am known as Becca to a lot of people who know me. In 2002, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. It was a real trying time for me, as at that time I didn't really know what breast cancer was. Also, my family too, who I relied on for support, emotional support, via psychological support, they didn't really understand what breast cancer was. So it was a real difficult time for me. They didn't understand the seriousness of it. So, while I was suffering from breast cancer, it was then made known that I had to go through treatment. So I had treatment in the form of chemotherapy. Through chemotherapy, I then started to lose my hair, and it was a really scary time as there were a lot of changes going on in my body. I think the only thing that was going on in my head was if either I was going to survive or not. I therefore then had to suggest to my family that they help support me to receive treatment overseas, as my the sickness started to get worse. As I already said, the majority of my family members, they did not really understand what breast cancer was, so there was no really real concern about whether they should really help me or if this was just a waste of time, if we were just looking for money. But one of my friends, who actually is a doctor, made it her business to actually explain and have a sit down 30-minute conversation with my family members with the use of obviously a PowerPoint presentation, just to explain to them what breast cancer is. It was not only for my sake, but also for those who were present to know what cancer is and the different types of cancers. So through that, my family members were able to understand what breast cancer was. We did fundraising for my treatment down in Australia, as I had family members already down there, so it was easier for me to go down and receive treatment, radiotherapy. I was able to recover a bit. I was given a choice with whether to cut my breasts or not, and I had to, so I lost both my left and my right breast. I still believed at that time that I had a lot to achieve. At that time, I had just graduated with my master's, and the job that I was wanting to secure, I wasn't able to upon completion of my studies, as I was diagnosed with cancer. It was quite a petrifying time for me. So I was told that in order to survive, I would have to lose both my breasts, which obviously I had to agree to. If not, I wouldn't be here today. So I lost both my breasts, and I struggled a lot with accepting myself afterwards. People think that cancer is just something that people go through personally, but it affects your family as a whole too, especially your parents. My parents worried a lot about me with whether I was going to get married afterwards. I was breastless and I had very low self-esteem. It affected my parents more than it affected me, because I was their child, and no parent obviously wants to see their child suffer. So looking back now, I would have to say it was a really good experience for me personally, because I got to love myself more. I survived, and even if I didn't, I was thankful for the life that God gave me, and within that short span of time, I was able to achieve a lot as a person, and I was involved in a lot of NGO work, and so I was accepting of my fate if I wasn't going to survive. But I thank God that I was able to know that something was wrong with me. So I found out at an early stage and not at a late stage. If I thought I wouldn't be around to share my story. But I'd like to encourage women out there. It's good to get tests for ovarian cancer, for cervical cancer in the form of pap smear tests. For breast cancer, it's good to examine yourself. Go for mammograms at the nearest hospitals if you need to do self-examination. Research on these things, because I don't really think we have that much of an excuse nowadays, especially those within the urban areas. We have access to internet on our phones 24/7.
Cancer is everyone's business. Therefore, you may do your best to encourage your loved ones around you to get tested. As the saying goes, prevention is better than cure. I hope you have found this episode somewhat encouraging, especially for ourselves as Papua New Guineans as a whole, to put our health as importance in our lives. If you feel you would like to know more about the medical services offered here within the country in regards to where you may get tested, especially for pap smear tests, please refer to our Facebook page. You can find us on Women's World on Facebook, also by contacting us through the link that is appearing on your screen now. Or if you believe there is a story you would like to share with us, if you would like to appear here on our program speaking about issues affecting our women here in the country, please send us a message on our Facebook page. Until next time, I am Miriam Rakone. Please join me on the next episode of Women's World.